Hello everyone, my name is the Mad Scorpion and welcome to another Xur Reset update for December the 13th, Friday the 13th to be specific. And quick side note before we get into this, did anyone see that crazy bit of Helldivers last night after the Game Awards? Literally during the Game Awards, they just suddenly, oh by the way, we have an update coming, and that coming is now. And by the way, the update is active right now, go play it. I literally did that. I diverted once I noticed it was live and just immediately started playing Helldivers for a bit, staying up far too late. But regardless, time to get into Xur's stock itself. Per the usual, you will start with the catalyst he has on his front page, and there is two kind of, I'd say, useful, one very much more useful than the other. The first is Colony, which is just a straight up ammo reserve increase, which, to be honest, is one of the probably best options for any heavy weapon. More ammo is always more appreciated, especially for heavies, but at the same time, that's all it is. It's just more ammo. Now, there might be a bit of a stat buff either way that's not included, and I know Colony was reworked with the final shape, so if there was a rework to its catalyst, it wasn't exactly showing. But the next is one that I would say definitely get because it might be very time limited otherwise, and that is Heir Apparent, which typically is only available during the Guardian games, where this catalyst makes it so that the arc shield that you earn when you're fully spun up at full health, the durability is massively increased, and it also reloads the gun if it's destroyed. So if you're running anything that isn't a Titan with active war rig, the reload part is actually pretty solid because partially for Heir Apparent would be something like 50 rounds, which is a heavy amount of reloading in comparison. But I would definitely recommend getting this one if you have a choice between the two and you don't have one or the other. Next, in terms of armor, first off, Lucky Pants, which is something that used to be purely for Crucible, then became a PvE god roll in just summation. Basically, it makes it so you have improved slide, sprint, and airborne effectiveness when using a hand cannon, and that includes any hand cannon. And for a short time after being drawn, hand cannons ready faster are more accurate, and each hit deals a combatant increased hand cannon damage, which this used to be if it matched your super, but I guess the chains are undone on this one, so anything like Ariana's Vow, Malfeasance, anything Rapid Fire, Warden's Law, Burst, anything, pretty much if you pull it out, keep hitting headshots, you'll get a stacking damage bonus, and in terms of PvE, it is incredibly handy for just basic damage. If you're running something like a rocket launcher, a sniper rifle, as well as a hand cannon, this is essentially what you'd run just to make it more damaging. But the next four Titans is something inherently simple, Armamentarium, where you have an additional grenade charge that you can have at any time, and grenade final blows will spawn an orb of power. Unfortunately, Armamentarium, I think, is in the realm of it's basic, but at the same time, if they do anything to massively work it and make it more powerful, it would be way too broken, because a grenade-focused exotic that is anything more than just giving it an extra charge might be too busted. But moving on next, for Warlocks we have something, speaking of too busted, Sun Bracers, where your solar grenades themselves have increased irritation, and at the same time, solar melee kills will grant unlimited solar energy for a brief time. Honestly, I kind of wish they simplified this because you can spam, I believe, 4 or 5 solar grenades all at an instant. Now, it's only for so long, and you do have to get a melee kill, not a melee hit to activate, but this is almost as infamous as Starfire Protocol, because almost everybody was using it for a length of time when it came to solar warlocks, especially compared with that one aspect that buffs solar grenades to deal more damage. I believe this is how people were one-phase burning Riven once upon a time. But then moving into the other bits of exotics, of course, we have the class items available if you wish to farm out. Class items, target farm with attunement. It is totally an option this weekend at Xur. But then with his main options of exotics, the first is the usual Hawk Moon, this time with Hipfire Grip as its bonus perk, as well as a Smooth Grip for increased stability and handling speed, and Polygonal Rifling for stability at the shot. It seems like a controllable option for Hawk Moon this week. But moving on, we have first the Suros Regime, which once upon a time was literally Auto Rifle the exotic, simply enough, because it only had the first bit of this, well actually the dual speed initially, but then with reworks it made it so that it has a spinning up effect where it's basically Onslaught, the perk, but natural, as well as the dual speed receiver where aimed on sight you'll get slower rate of fire but increased weapon damage itself, as well as the perk Suros Legacy where the bottom half of the magazine deals bonus damage and randomly can return health on kill. And the catalyst itself, if you're wondering, basically makes it so that the kill effect is just randomly more consistent, or it procs more often. This is purely, honestly, a Crucible exotic when you in the length of things, because unfortunately random health isn't exactly the greatest things in terms of PvE endgames, but it is still a very solid and iconic Destiny exotic. Speaking of next, the Skyburner's Oath, something that with 3.0 of Solar became kind of the, I'd say, Giga Chad option. Basically, it is a Cabal slug rifle. What it does is it lobs explosive slugs. When you're aiming down sights, the slug travel faster and straight. When you're firing from the hip, the explosion is larger and applies scorch to the target. At the same time, it does have the nifty bit of firing full auto and being extra damage to Cabal and penetrating failing shields, so that's just a nice bit on top. But yeah, pretty much it just straight up gives it, you know, explosive rounds that can scorch, and those scorched rounds can pretty quickly lead up to ignitions. Now, 100%, I forget if the catalyst actually does anything other than a range buff, and I think it's a range and a stability buff officially, but I am just checking it here myself for, what's the word? Just for the deposition, and, well, here, I'll just go ahead and make it myself just so y'all can see it. And bada bing, does drop masterwork. Yes, that does seem to be just a reload speed buff. I feel like this is something that could desperately get something more. Maybe Vorpal. Just because it already does deal bonus damage to Cabal, that would be something extra for it. But I digress. Moving on to the next one, it is an incredibly useful elemental damage one, the Two-Tailed Fox, where it fires 2 rockets, one being Void and one being Solar, as well as having tracking and the benefit of Void rockets suppressing your enemies and Solar rockets dealing Scorch, which in its own right is incredibly effective for generic PvP, or not PvP, PvE, like in things like light bearers, shutting them down, and otherwise shutting down abilities of your enemies. But at the same time, it did get a buff with the Catalyst where it makes it fire the 3rd rocket that also jolts combatants. For a time, if you weren't running this in a damage phase against the raid, you were making a mistake. It is still totally a viable option, if not a chunky one on your screen, but it is incredibly useful, especially for the Witness Cheese, of course. But aside from that, elemental debuffs galore when it comes to the Two-Tailed Fox rocket launcher. And next, blisting through the available weapons, the first is the Escape Velocity Kinetic Lightweight Frame SMG. Solid option, but is quite outdated because it is from Season 10, old. Rapacious Appetite, which is a Stasis Aggressive Frame SMG from Season of the Deep that can be crafted and is still currently kind of up to date. The 7th Seraph Sidearm from Season of the... wait, hang on. I think it's still worthy because I don't think this officially returned with... what's the word? That one dungeon, Spire of the Watcher, but it is still a solid enough sidearm if you're interested in sidearms of a lightweight variety. The next is Contingency Plan, which is a rapid-fire scout from Season Lost, which is solid enough. I do have a few rolls that I do enjoy, although still quite heavily outdated from Season 15, almost a decade of seasons. And the same for Behringer's Memory, which is a rapid-fire frame grenade launcher that is not updated. It is as old as Season 11, so this is something I would say remove from the pool because there are many other grenade launchers nowadays that is just far better worth. Then the next is Eleatic Principle, which I think I said that right. From Season of the Witch, a rapid-fire arc machine gun. I don't recall it being anything to exactly go home about because, of course, that one from Season of the Seraph, I think it was, the Void one that has 4 times the charm target lock, it still kind of outclasses this one in every variety, so there's that. Then the next there is the class swords of the various classes that, of course, you have to check on your own if you wish to see exactly what they have. And for the legendary armor, it seems to be the old Jensen Knight helm and armor set from the old Io location. But with that, that is everything Xur has to offer in his exotic store. My name is the Mad Scorpion. I will see you in the next video.